be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor? Good morning.
Hello, neighbors. Hello, neighbors. Welcome to our neighborhood. This neighborhood is People's Church, a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association and part of a long tradition of liberal religion. Here, we seek to find answers to the questions that we have and to embrace the neighbors around us, whether our questions and answers are the same or different. So I'm glad you've decided to join us in this neighborhood this morning. Let's have a great day.
And a few announcements as we begin. A gentle reminder to turn in your pledge forms if you haven't yet. Last week at this time, we had 67 households we were still hoping to hear from, and now we're at about 40. So great work, everybody. And if you're among those 40, please let us know if you're going to pledge or not. There's paper forms in the foyer and an online form on our website. The nagging will continue. This Wednesday evening at 6 p.m., there will be a film and conversation here in this room on reversing the missionary position, learning solidarity on Mayan time. This is presented by the Kalamazoo Immigrant Solidarity Coalition, and all are welcome. So Wednesday, 6 p.m. right here. And next Sunday will be our All Ages Earth Day service. We'll attempt to share some hope in this moment when hope can be hard to find. Now I invite you to sing People of Hope.
Yes, I invite you to rise and body your spirit, and we'll sing this song together. It's hard to believe in the sun in the dark of the night. And it's hard to believe in the stars in the bright morning light. Well, we all need a place we can go to learn what is real, to ponder the depths of the soul where truth is revealed. Oh, this is our place. This is our home. Working and seeking, we're never alone. In this mortar and stone, these windows and walls, love's earthly home, heeding the call. It's bread for the journey, oil for the flame, for people of love, people of hope, people of change. It's hard to believe there is peace when war rages on. And it's hard to believe there is love in hate's raging throng. Well, for every brave soldier, a peacemaker takes her own stand. And for every soul long turned away, there waits a new hand. Oh, let it be you, let it be me. love's earthly home, heeding the call. It's bread for the journey, oil for the flame, for people of love, people of hope, people of change. When a place is what welcomes you in, you build it, you change it, so the promise of love can begin here in this room, here in these halls, hearts open wide, welcoming all in this mortar and stone, these windows and walls, love's earthly home, heeding the call. It's bread for the journey, oil for the flame, for people of love, people of hope, people of change. We're people of love, people of hope, people of change. We're living out love, living out hope, living out change. Sing out for love, sing out for hope, sing out for change. So now I believe in the sun, in the dark of the night.
I would like to invite our chalice lighter up to light the chalice. If you are lighting a chalice at home, you are encouraged to type in the chat box, "A chalice is lit" in your location, neighborhood, city, or street. Our chalice lighting this morning comes from First Parish in Bedford, Massachusetts, from a coming-of-age participant. This light unites us. This light unites us with our neighbors, our friends, and our enemies. Most importantly, this light unites us within ourselves, our hearts, our souls, our spirits. This light unites us.
In addition to our chalice that's burning here, we have people who have joined us on Zoom this morning. We have chalices lit in Parkview Hills, at Tiller's International in Scotts, Parkview Hills, in Edmonds, Washington, and in Portage. What a gift to all be together in spirit, even when we're not all in the same place. Oh, and Eastwood. Sometimes it takes a moment to get the typing fingers going. So today is a day that we are celebrating some of the newest members of People's Church. The last time we held this ritual was in June 2024, and since then, 19 people have signed our bond of union and joined our congregation, which is a big deal, you guys. Yeah, I hear a cheer behind me. And it is our practice of hospitality here to welcome people in the way they want to be welcomed, right? So many people join the congregation, and when I ask, how can I celebrate you? They say, I don't want any of that. And that's great. We welcome you. We're happy for people who don't want the fanfare to be among us. And some people choose recognition, which is great too, so we can all at least hear their names and see their faces. So being a member of People's Church means you take a role in shaping the congregation's future by voting on our most important decisions and possibly becoming a leader of the congregation. Membership is open to all who are 16 years of age or older and in alignment with our purposes here. Many people choose to join the church within a year or two of attending, but people join much quicker and much slower. People move at their own pace, and we welcome that. So now I will name some of our newest members, including a couple who are with us on Zoom today, and another one who's here but didn't want to come forward. So the numbers are not going to match, okay? I can just letting you know. So as you hear your name, I invite you to come forward, and you'll get to take a chalice from our collection of chalices that will be yours for home use. And one of our board members will help you light it from here. And then we will all read our bond of union together. So let us welcome Melissa Dipert, Shelby Watson, Jen Doxa Kohler, Brenda and John Ortega, Phil Dietrich, and Nick Whitman. Come on down.
So for those who know the bond of union, you may say it along with me.
It's up there.
And it's up there now. So please read along with me. Earnestly desiring to develop in ourselves and in the world honest, reverent thought, faithfulness to our highest conception of right living, the spirit of love and service to all people, and allegiance towards all the interests of morality and religion as interpreted by the growing thought and purest lives of humanity. We join ourselves together, hoping to help one another in all good things and advance the cause of pure and practical religion in the community. We base our union upon no creed test, but upon the purpose herein expressed, and welcome all who wish to join us to help establish truth, righteousness, and love in all the world. Welcome.
Now we will send our children and our teachers off to their classes in song. Go forth in peace, in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go. Go forth in peace, in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go.
People's people are generous people. And one of the ways we practice generosity is once a month we send our offering basket out into the world to support an organization doing good and important work in our community. Today, our recipient is Community Homeworks, and we have Chris and Nancy here to tell us about what they do. I invite you all to give generously.
Good morning. morning, everyone. Again, my name is Chris Pradle from Community Homeworks, and I'm here with Nancy Servos, who's with our team as well. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning and share with you some of the work of Community Homeworks that's happening in Kalamazoo County. We work to keep people in the homes that they have, and we do it through 3 simple ways, and I love the fact that we can explain it in there's 3 ways. We help people with health and safety home repairs in their home if they are struggling to do so themselves. We help people with empowering education workshops where people, anybody from Kalamazoo County of any income background can join us to learn how to repair and maintain their home. And then lastly, we now have the largest tool library in Southwest Michigan, which is open to any resident of Kalamazoo County, and you can access a tool library of over 1,000 tools, including all those outdoor tools, which may be super handy this time of year as things start to improve as well. One of the things I want to make sure to emphasize before Nancy comes up and shares a story with you is that we as an organization very much believe and try to exude that housing is social justice. And if there's one thing I know about this organization is that that's something that you all believe very much as well. We know that it's such a key social determinant to so many of the things that we need to thrive as people in this world and in our community. And we really do our best to try to live that out through our core program. So you'll get to hear a chance to hear an example here right now from Nancy. Thank you.
Good morning. As Chris said, my name is Nancy, and I'm a Mission Advancement Specialist, and I am honored to work for Community Homeworks. And 2 of the main words in my job is community and neighborhood. So your theme today of Mr. Rogers, I actually did a little research on Mr. Rogers before I came, and one thing he did so well was he practiced proximity, which meant being with people. And he also practiced meeting people where they're at and befriending them. And I see all of you as epitomes of that mission. And I read your words up there, and it's like, that's who you are. So a little story about proximity and about meeting people where they're at is Miss Tony. Miss Tony came to us with her home, which was in disrepair. It's a home that she had had in her family for decades. She and her husband bought it many, many years ago and raised their family there. And then her husband suddenly and tragically died. This was about 6 years ago. So Miss Tony went into grief, understandably, and didn't have the willpower nor knowledge to keep her house up. So she was afraid she'd have to give up her home, this home that she had raised her kids in, and move and maybe end up in a bedroom of one of her kids or something. Well, we came on the scene and did what was needed to give her not only the technical stuff that she needed, like a new water heater, and I think there was several other repairs she really, really needed, but we also gave her just that friendship that comes with proximity. And so I interviewed her for our podcast. Being Right at Home is our podcast. It's on our website. And her story at the end of it just made both of us cry, because she said, within my home now is the spirit of my ex-husband, or her former husband that passed away. And she said, his spirit still lives in this, not only in this home, but in this neighborhood that was so much of him. So when I think of Mr. Rogers, I think of Mr. Booker, who his legacy lives on. And so I just wanted to share that story with you, because that's who we are. We want to get to know people. We want to get to know our neighborhoods, and we want to be in proximity with those that, whether it's through our education program, our tool library, or our critical home repair program, we just get to know the people in our community. So thank you for this opportunity.
We sing our thanks and praise, for all life is a gift. which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise, for all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
One of the values in our neighborhood is pluralism. And that means, as I mentioned earlier, that a lot of us have different beliefs and come from different places with different experiences, and we come together to make a whole. And Rachel pointed out to me a long time ago something that I hadn't actually noticed, and that's that we don't say a lot of things all in unison here. Because we don't know where each person individually is coming from. And I know we said the bond of union earlier, and that is an anomaly for sure. But we say this together every week. And the beauty of this sentiment gets me every time. And so today I invite you to not just say it out loud like we do every week, but to really focus on what we're saying about who we are and what we're trying to do. Please join me in giving thanks. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone.
One piece of the work of love that we do here is our care for one another within this community. And one piece of that is that when we gather for worship, we invite those who wish to share the joys and sorrows and other milestones of their lives. So if you have something you want to share with our gathered community today, if you're with us on Zoom, please type it into the chat box. And if you're here in person, I invite you to come forward, place a stone in our bowl of water, speak briefly, and remember to tell us your name. I place a few more stones for the joy and the sorrow we're holding quietly in our heart today, the joy and sorrow in our wider community and our wider world. Sources of reason and radiance, sources of courage and compassion, keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this day. May the suffering be soothed. May the weary find rest. May the sick be tended. May the dying and those who love them find peace. May the joyous be shielded. And may all of us know we are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always, a web that connects us to all that exists. Holy mystery, silent presence, uncertain bearer of the weight of it all. In these quiet moments, we listen. We listen for the maybe still breathing, perhaps still whispering, faintest sign of the universal good. We listen between the cacophony of distractions pulling us toward untruth and falsehood. We listen amidst the shrill cries of desperation, of we've had enough, of when will they stop killing my people, of how much more will the waters rise, of when will it be safe to return to my home, of how much longer can I hang on. We listen and we wait through the tumult of these days. We seek assurance. We seek the fulfillment of a promise made to ourselves, a promise made to those we have been stretched to call neighbor, a promise written and enshrined and yet unfulfilled. Help us, abiding mystery, to hang on, to hold on when all is in question, when all is in doubt. Help us to stay firm to our own commitments and our own promises. Lead us back into connection, back into the bonds of humanity that help us to know each other as beloved. May we continue listening. May we keep watch. May we beckon love and justice and mercy with our own whispers, with our shouts, with our cries, until all know themselves as part of the circle of love. Amen.
Return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Our first reading today is from the book of Leviticus, a text held sacred by both Christians and Jews. It is part of a longer passage on doing what is right, both religiously and morally. When strangers reside with you in your land, you shall not wrong them. The strangers who reside with you shall be to you as your citizens. You shall love each one as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I, the Eternal, am your God. Our second reading is from the Gospel according to Mark, from the Christian Scriptures. It's a piece of a collection of stories about the teachings of Jesus, from Mark 12. One of the scribes came near and asked Jesus, "Which commandment is the first of all?" Jesus answered, "The first is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and all your strength. And the second is this: You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." Then the scribe said to him, "You are right, teacher. You have truly said that he is one, and beside him there is no other, and to love him with all the heart and with all the understanding and with all the strength, and to love one's neighbor as oneself. This is much more important than all whole burnt offerings and sacrifices." When Jesus saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And after that, no one dared ask him any question. Our third reading is from the fourth surah of the Quran, the sacred scripture of Islam. The An-Nisa surah describes how a faithful and just Muslim community should be. "And do good unto your parents and near of kin, and unto orphans and the needy, and the neighbor from among your own people, and the neighbor who is a stranger, and the friend by your side, and the wayfarer, those whom you rightfully possess. Verily, God does not love any of those who, full of self-conceit, act in a boastful manner."
And now a contemporary poem, "The Same Cold" by Stephen Dunn. In Minnesota, the serious cold arrived like no cold I'd previously experienced. An in-your-face honesty to it, a clarity that always took me by surprise. On blizzard nights with wires down or in the dead battery dawn, the cold made good neighbors of us all. Made us moral because we might need something moral in return. No hitchhiker left on the road, not even some frozen, strange-looking stranger turned away from our door. After a spell of it, I remember zero would feel warm. People out for walks, jackets open, ice fishermen in the glory of their shacks moved to Nordic song. The cold took over our lives, lived in every conversation as compelling as local dirt or local sport. If bitten by it, stranded somewhere, a person would want to lie right down in it and sleep. Come February, some of us needed to scream, hurt ourselves, divorce. Once, on Route 23, 30 below, my Maverick seized up, and a man with a blanket and a candy bar, a man for all weather, stopped and drove me home. It was no big thing to him, the savior. Just two men, he said, in the same cold.
Perfect, yep. I invite you to join me in song on this if you know this one. It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair, but it's you I like. The way you are right now, the way down deep inside you, not the things that hide you, not your toys, they're just beside you, but it's you I like, every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, it's you yourself, it's you.
how wonderful it was when I was doing our service planning and said, I want to talk about neighbors. And Savannah and Jennifer said, oh, then we have to do lots of Mr. Rogers. And then we could all dress, and it's a whole thing. It's great. So today I want to talk to you about narrative strategy. And narrative strategy is a bit of rhetoric, it's a little bit of political organizing, and it's the work of using words and stories to help people make sense of the world. Perhaps gently guiding others to see patterns and make connections in a specific way. Maybe a little bit of manipulation in there too, that helps them shape their understanding of the world. So I was taught to think of narrative strategy as a metaphor about stars and constellations. So the stars are the facts, the objective truths of the world, and they are there, or at least the stars are there, or at least they were there when their light is emitted. We actually don't know if they're still there now because science is wild. But they exist, or existed, whether we see them or not. And constellations are not facts. They are the patterns that we project onto the stars, right? So they're based on where we are, because if we were in a different part of the galaxy, the stars would still be there, but they would be arranged in a different way in our perspective. And they're also culturally mediated, right? So if you have a different set of stars, different cultures see the same stars in different ways. So the collection of stars that many of us in this room have been taught is the Big Dipper are, to the Sami people of Scandinavia, a bow and arrow. They're a revolving man at the center of the sky to the Navajo people. And they're a snake to the Tucano people of the land we might call Colombia and Brazil. So the stars are the same across cultures, but the way we make sense of them is not. And as humans, we are wired to create these narratives, right? To look at the facts of the world and put a constellation on top of them. And these overarching themes help us make sense of facts. If they were just diffuse points, we couldn't really do anything with them. And so we do this, whether we're thinking about it or not. And narrative strategy is the way we use this narrative power, this human compulsion to turn stars into constellations for good. And so much of our political and social life right now is rooted in dueling narratives. So if a person's narrative of undocumented immigrants is one that considers those folks, those neighbors, rule breakers and criminals, they likely support very different policies than if a person whose narrative about undocumented immigrants is they are neighbors and friends and beloveds who fled situations of violence and poverty. People with those two narratives take in the news in very different ways, usually seeking the stories that reinforce their worldview, and then ask for the world to be created in different ways, rooted in those narratives, acting in ways that aren't necessarily entirely rooted in fact, but are rooted in the way they have received the facts and thought and think about them, rooted in the constellations rather than the stars. And our politics now, and perhaps always, is about these fighting narratives. And it's probably exacerbated by the fracturing of our media. We aren't even using the same stories anymore a lot of the time, the same stars to build those constellations. And so no wonder it can feel impossible to speak across different worldviews right now. Our views are undergirded by these narratives that are wildly different. And as we begin to understand how these narratives work, we can use them to lead people, slightly manipulate people, let's say, to see reality in different ways. Benevolently, mostly manipulate people. So here's a small example of the sort of narrative strategy and how it can work that I used with this congregation. So when I started as your minister about 11 years ago, the congregation collectively was very worried about money. You all were in the midst of a massive 9-year capital campaign that built the addition onto the building. The board spent so much time looking at the budget line by line in those years to monitor every expense. And there wasn't enough money for everything that we wanted. I don't think there ever is enough money for everything that we want. But there was enough for everything that we needed. So none of the money worry was wrong. And it wasn't the only way to make sense about the facts of money in this congregation. So I intentionally tried to shift our narrative or give us a new narrative alongside about money here. So if you've been here for a little while, you know that every week when I introduce the offering, I say, people's people are generous people. That is a narrative. I know, see, I kind of manipulated you all a little bit, letting you behind the curtain. But I think for good. And then I follow it with a story of people's people being generous. Sometimes this is about money and finances, but usually not. It's usually a story about a few people or an individual in the church showing up in a meaningful way to help each other, the church, or the world. It's not hard to find these stories. I never made any of them up. You all are generous. And that was a fact. And I was trying to string these facts together, these stories, to create a new constellation, to see if we could, through storytelling and highlighting a different set of facts, create a new story here, overlay a new constellation on top of the stars, maybe turn our dipper into a rotating man or a snake or a bow and arrow. And this has been the work of years. It took about 3 years before someone said, people's people are generous people, in response, and I was delighted. We were beginning to shift, and this narrative has taken root in how we collectively think about each other. Generosity has become a sense of self here. We do give our time and our talent, treasure and trust in support of our values, both within and beyond the congregation. It's not the only story about money here. It probably never will be. And we still have enough for everything we need and not enough for everything we want. And it is different. Because when we think of ourselves as generous, it calls us to action. We are willing to take generous risks, whether that's turning this room into a collection point for furniture for newly arrived refugees when we were still meeting on Zoom. It was wild, y'all. This was just couches. Or asking each other for help and trusting that the meal train or the ride will come through. Or the board and treasurer and finance committee asking for a significant increase in pledges this year, because that is what we actually need to keep our programs and ministries thriving and have enough to be prepared for the future. Of course, none of this is only because I was running this long narrative strategy project on you. But we have collectively shifted how we see each other, how we think of this community. And that is powerful, and it leads us to new possibilities. The work of intentionally creating new narratives is powerful stuff. Which brings me back to being a good neighbor. So several weeks ago, a group of local clergy and religious leaders from the middle of the road to progressive traditions in Kalamazoo gathered in room 19 to talk about narrative strategy. This group grew out of Jill Terwilliger's responding to the call to Minneapolis and then coming back and saying, oh, clergy should do a thing here too. So we don't know what we're going to do. but we're trying to gather, and we're using a number of UUA resources to have good conversations with each other. And we did I led them through a whole process of narrative strategy. We know this is a moment when our country needs new moral leadership, and we are trying not to cede morality to those who would use it as a weapon, right? And I know this is not only the work of clergy, but we have our lane that we need to be stronger in than we have been. So we gathered, and I led them through a process of identifying issues and looking at the dominant narratives and seeing what narratives we might want to tell instead to help ourselves, the people in our wider community. And Pastor Caleb of Millwood United Methodist suggested Americans are good neighbors as a new narrative to tell about ourselves. And the room crackled with the energy of yes. Americans are good neighbors. My heart wants something more radical than that, to be perfectly honest, but I know I'm on the far liberal edge of the theological groups in this town, and that's okay. Broad coalitions are really important. Americans are good neighbors. It works as a narrative because it is clear, it is evocative, it's challenging in good ways, and it's really hard to be against, right? There aren't many people out there who's really are aspiring to be bad neighbors, at least in saying it like that, right? But nobody is claiming an identity as a bad neighbor, I hope. So congregations across Kalamazoo are going to be working with this theme in the coming weeks and months. And I gave you this whole behind the curtain look because I want you to use it too. We are good neighbors. Americans are good neighbors. Maybe in your neighborhood or workplace or in any of your commitments to justice and care, we are good neighbors, or Americans are good neighbors. So some other congregations are like, let's get yard signs and put them in every yard in town, and so we'll see where this goes, right? It's new, but you all are in on the ground floor. Being a good neighbor calls us to generosity and care. We are good neighbors, so we care for people who are sick or struggling. We are good neighbors, so we care for people in our communities when they need help with housing. We are good neighbors because we know we are interdependent. We covenant to protect our earth and all beings from exploitation. This is what our values call us to. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. So this is a massive group project that the crowd of congregations are going to be working on in our community. We'll see how we might be able to shift narratives here in ways that lead us all toward flourishing. Americans are good neighbors. True, we aren't always good neighbors. There's so many examples of us being bad neighbors. We can tell those stories too. But being a good neighbor is an aspiration to hold on to. It is possible. Being a good neighbor, loving your neighbor is a core value in this country, even if we don't live it out as consistently as I would like us to. One that we can tell stories about, right? You heard Laura read scripture from across the Abrahamic tradition. Those are the traditions that consider the patriarch Abraham a religious ancestor, instructing us to care for neighbors and for strangers. This is a core teaching and a challenging one. Have you had a good neighbor? That's a few people had this. I want you to talk to each other about this at coffee hour. Start telling these stories about being neighbors. Who were they? How did they show up? What makes a neighbor good? I've had several good neighbors in my life. The neighbor I had as a young child, who I called neighbor, because I didn't know his name. And I don't remember much about him. We moved away when I was in kindergarten, but I remember that sense of care from neighbor. I remember when the neighbors when I lived on a street where our homes were regularly broken into and robbed, and we would give small gifts up and down the block after it happened. The cookies and the tea didn't fix anything, but it did help to know, okay, there's some people wishing us well in this place too. The neighbors who, when I moved to Kalamazoo, made us a welcome note that included the names of all of the people and all of the pets on our block so we could start to get oriented, and a child's drawing of a two-headed dragon. We all have stories like this, right? I hope we at least have a couple of when we receive the care of a good neighbor, and probably sometimes when we were a good neighbor to those around us. So in the room of clergy, the question arose, who is our neighbor? Our literal neighbors? The people in our congregations? The people in our wider community? Our global neighborhood? And the answer we came to is yes, all of the above, right? The practice of being good to our literal neighbors and our more metaphorical neighbors, all of it matters, right? You don't get to pick and pick some to focus on and some to ignore. Being good to our literal neighbors is easy to romanticize and harder to do. It sounds so easy when Mr. Rogers sings about it, doesn't it? It can be hard because we don't get to pick our neighbors. They might be people we would not choose to know if given the chance. And building relationships is always inconvenient and inefficient. Many of my best conversations with my neighbors happen when one of us is in a driveway or in the yard doing chores and the other one walks by. And it requires at least one of us, usually both, to sort of set aside that to-do list, I'm getting my stuff done mentality, and pause and focus on each other. It's hard, at least for me, to remember to do that when I'm in the midst of mowing the lawn or trying to carry all my groceries in or whatever it is. Getting to a place of mutuality, to that vision of neighbors who are borrowing cups of sugar from each other across the fence, requires vulnerability. No one can fill a need that you don't let show. So you have to ask for something. And that is one of the quickest ways to build relationship. So rather than rushing off to the grocery store when you realize you don't have enough sugar, maybe you go to your neighbor and see what happens. It's worth a try. That feels so much harder, at least to me. Being a good neighbor also means overriding that narrative that so many of us have been taught that strangers are dangerous. Stranger danger. It rhymes, so it must be true, right? That's not quite how it works, but it's a powerful narrative, right? It sticks. And we know that some strangers are dangerous, but most are not. Most are regular people doing their best, just like us. And this is a hard narrative to rewrite because so much in our culture and in our media is committed to the narrative of stranger danger. Bad interactions make the news or become 10-part podcasts, while the normal interactions that are kind or generous or just neutral don't. We don't hear about the good moments, so our narratives about stranger danger are reinforced. So we need to see something else in the stars about neighborliness and hospitality and welcome, a constellation of do good unto the neighbor from among your own people and the neighbor who is a stranger, as the Quran instructs. I think being good to our neighbors, loving the part of the world we can reach, has the power to transform the world. I hate that we don't, either as an individual congregation or individual people, have the power to stop war and genocide and enforce a just and lasting peace in the whole world. Truth, righteousness, and love in the whole world as our bond of union aspires to. How I wish we had that power. But we do have the power to choose kindness and care in small ways and see how that grows into justice and care in our communities. Recently, I was speaking with Pastor Chrissy at First Presbyterian downtown about this. As an aside, Mr. Rogers was a Presbyterian minister, and she would be really miffed if I did not make sure you all knew that. Her office is like done up with Mr. Rogers. It's really quite something. And I was talking to her about this, and she offered me the image of a quilting bee. So at a quilting bee, people gather together to usually make one quilt. And often they are bringing their previously made quilt squares with them, and the group sews everything together and quilts it. So that's putting the patterned and the batting and the backing fabric together and sewing in and out so it all sticks together. And to make a successful quilt at a quilting bee, each quilter needs to do their best work on their portion, whether it's the patch they're bringing beforehand, but also the hand quilting that they are doing together. It doesn't work if someone is trying to control all of the quilting, right? You do your part really well and give care and thought to the work that is in your literal lap. And if everyone does that, the results are beautiful. So it is also with the life of integrity. If we pay attention to what is in our lap and do that well in our lives, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, somehow it adds up to something more than any of us can accomplish alone. It's quilted together into beloved community. There's something to the poet's wisdom that I read earlier. In Minnesota, the cold makes good neighbors of us all. There can't be permanent enemies when, if bad things happen, we have to depend on each other to make it through. Whether the bad things that happen is literal ice of the frozen water variety, or the ice of immigration and customs enforcement, we depend on one another, and we are the ones who keep us safe and together and alive, leaving no strange-looking stranger behind. And the everyday practices of being a good neighbor, borrowing sugar, giving a two-headed dragon drawing, tending our corner of the metaphorical quilt, appearing in a desperate moment with a blanket and a candy bar, all of that builds the practice and the connection and the network that helps us navigate the world ahead as best we can. So I invite you to join with me and with others across our community in talking about being a good neighbor more. Who has been a good neighbor to you? What does it mean to be a good neighbor now? And telling the stories. So we might start to create this new constellation rooted in care and justice. And may you be a good neighbor to all of the neighbors in your life. May it be so. May we make it so. And amen. Thank you.
All right. I invite you to rise one more time in body or spirit to sing our closing song together. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor?
So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Let us go out to love our neighbors as ourselves. Let us go in peace and go in love.